Welcome to the Pigskin Party Podcast, the only podcast that combines real NFL analysis with a splash of pop culture and a dash of the random. Let's get this Pigskin Party started with your hosts, Brian McFadden and Will Southard.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the PPP, the Pigskin Party Podcast. My name is not Brian. My name is Will. Brian is off. I don't know what Brian is actually doing, but he's not here. Super early on a Saturday morning. We're recording the show. We're plowing through. This is the NFL episode. Make sure to stay tuned for the flavor of the week. Please subscribe wherever you are listening, watching this, and tell a friend. That is how we grow this Pigskin Party. Man, I'm doing Brian a solid right now.
Excellent.
It's awesome. Joining me as always, not as always, but as frequently is breaking down all the NFL news and sprinkling in, hopefully, some of my humor. I mean, he'll do a great job. Is Jeff from the year we started a podcast coming back again? What's up, man?
How's it going? Happy to be here. It is extremely early. It's like the baritone edition of the Pigskin Party right now. Voice hasn't quite exactly woken up yet, but we're here.
There's a lot of coffee required.
Indeed.
I feel like this is like when people in California have to watch NFL games. It's like they're still having breakfast and like kickoff is happening. So we'll make it happen. We also have another guest today joining us from my old job, my old life, my old state. We have Blake Sutterfield here, who hosts a YouTube channel on drinking beer and opening football cards. How's it going, man?
What's going on, guys? The drinking beer thing soon to change. Recently went sober, so now my channel's gonna suck, but it is what it is.
But you didn't go sober like you had a problem. You went sober just because, like, you like me,
so
you're just kind of...
ticker would stop messing up. Yeah, man. AFib is not fun, so therefore, no beer. But it's all good. Fair
enough. Well, we got a pretty good show. So it's a crazy week, right? Because we're getting close to the draft and everything like that. We've got all, everybody's talking about the draft mocks and all that kind of stuff. But there's some crazy other NFL news, not necessarily related to roster moves or the draft. We're not going to do a specific team deep dive this week, but I guess you could say we're going to do a player deep dive. So just rolling through. First thing we wanted to sort of discuss is the crazy story of how, it's kind of unfortunate a little bit, but how a lot bit.
I was going to say a little bit. I'm sorry. Yeah, keep it light here to start it off.
Is CTE, right? I mean, it's an issue. So Phillip Adams was in the news, spent 6 years in the league, 49ers, Pats, Oakland, Jets, Falcons. If everybody doesn't know, was involved in a shooting recently. He shot 5 people, mainly his doctor. I think that was the primary target, and then some immediate family and people that were in the doctor's house. So awful story. I guess the first question is, Jeff, like, what is it about the Patriots franchise and like CTE players?
They sacrifice it all for Super Bowls, I guess. I don't know. But no, it is a terrible story, and I don't recommend reading up any more on the details than what you've already given out. It's definitely a super, super sad deal. But no, I don't know what this sort of stuff, like, we hear these sort of things happening. It's a tragedy, but there's a lot less dramatic versions of these sort of things, players suffering after their careers and just the effects that the game has had on them. And I don't know, like you hear lots of talk, and the league has changed a bit in order to make it be a bit safer. And I definitely think that'll be a trend that continues. And, it's sad to see some certain things go, but I think it's probably for the better. These are people at the end of the day, and they don't necessarily need to sacrifice their health and well-being for our entertainment to the extent that they do currently. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Will? What's wrong with your Patriot people?
Well, I mean, so like they already kind of helmet technology is a thing, right? So as we saw with Antonio Brown's famous not helmet gate from that was 2 years ago, right?
Vontaze Burfict messed him up forever. I'm convinced of that.
Right. I mean, so there was that. If you have never seen that clip, it's pretty brutal. It's actually a good watch because there's no gruesome, especially if you don't like the Steelers or Antonio Brown. It's a good watch. But anyway, yeah. I mean, so helmet technology is always going to continue to evolve. They've made the game try to make it safer for protecting quarterbacks. Things like that. You have to wonder though. And maybe I'll throw this over to Blake here. What else do you think it means for the future of the sport? Do you think we see more rules? Do you think we see like time, in games different, or like, what do you think the future of CTE is going to do to football?
I mean, I guess it just all depends because, if we have more experts that start like kind of, I guess, looking into it and think, wow, CTE is definitely the issue. Then we'll definitely see more regulation. But like with the was it the Aaron Hernandez documentary that came out? Like they tried to pin CTE on him murdering all those people, and his brain was, severely damaged. So I guess it depends on if it's like a causation versus correlation, or correlation versus causation. Like one of those things where the guys that happen to be, really harming all these people have severe brain damage, or if it's just like, well, there's a lot of people that also have this CTE that aren't killing people, that are just fully senile at age 35, like that. I guess it really just depends on how much evidence we're able to get to back that CTE is the cause for these violent outbreaks. Because we didn't, and this isn't the only shooting that happened in the NFL within this past, a couple weeks. You had the Travis Rudolph guy who used to play for the Giants. Yeah. And I don't know if that's CTE related or not, or if that's just something where he was kind of disgruntled and shot this dude up. I didn't really research that one. But, it's just crazy the amount of violence we've seen NFL related these past couple weeks. So
yeah. So I mean, the NFL, like, it's an aggressive sport, right? Like you have to be wired a different way. It's a lot like being a Navy SEAL. And I would know because I'm not one. Right? So like your default state is aggression. Right. And like, this is my thing. When I played football, I was okay because I was a big dude. But like, I don't have that like default level of aggression all the time. So like,
killer instinct.
When we snap the ball, like, I don't want to murder you, dude. Like, I mean, I'll block you, but like, I'm not trying to kill you. That's not the case for people that play football, right?
Especially on defense. I mean, you just have to be wired a certain way to play linebacker, for example, like, or a strong safety or whatever. Like, it takes a different type of person to be willing to just fly full speed, everything you have to try to kill somebody. I mean, it's just...
Like, and then I'm sure the coaches aren't saying like, all right, I want you to go out there and I want you to murder this guy and his entire family. Let's go, win on 3. You know what I mean? Like, they're not doing that.
I don't. Yeah,
I mean that I know
of. There's the Bounty. What was his name? He was involved in Bountygate. Who was that guy? It was Ryan's brother, right? Wasn't it? Or was that?
I know what you're talking about, but I'm
exactly. There was like I think he's a cowboy. What? Anyway, so you got to be wired a different way, right? So to your point, who knows if it's the actual CTE? I mean, this case, it kind of points to it a little bit because he killed his doctor, right? Who stopped giving him drugs. So there's that, I guess. One thing that I wonder about is should there be like a football VA? And what I mean by VA is like veterans, admission, like hospital, right? So like if you're a player, right, should part of your contract of being in the NFL, and maybe there's a minimum amount of time, maybe there's an opt-in or opt-out, maybe this isn't a thing at all, but should you have access? And I don't know what former players have access to, so that might be an interesting thing to ask about, but like, should you have some sort of like ongoing monitoring program for some set amount of time? Maybe it's not your whole life, but like the next 10 or 15, 20 years after you get out of the league, should you have to come in on some basis to be screened for this kind of stuff? What do you think, Jeff?
I'm Googling to see, I'm making sure that they don't already have like insurance for life or something like that. I think having a specific hospital or, like a VA style thing for, like that doesn't scale as well because there's not as many NFL players as veterans, obviously.
Sure.
But
yeah, I don't mean like a big thing, but like maybe set of doctors.
I think Yes, I think having some specialized people that are, flown around to go see people, or, obviously you can have a handful of regional type people, but there has to be some sort of, ongoing support for these players. I mean, they make the sport billions of dollars by showing up and sacrificing their lives their well-being. And even if it's not CTE specific, like you're talking about, how many people have had Achilles torn, or, torn ACLs, or etc. Like there's lots of ongoing, rehab that, like, after you're done with the sport, there's lots of things that are common amongst NFL players, and that's not typical of us. Like we're not going to have the same worn down bodies after our careers at the office or whatever.
Right. There's also like an identity issue, right? Like a lot of these players, especially if you made it in the league, football has been your life, like probably, right? From when you're a little kid all the way through, everybody told you that you're amazing. You were the best guy at your high school, the best guy in college, probably, right? You all these fans like just think you're like the best, right? And you get into the league, you're in the league for 3-4 years, whatever the average is, and then you're done. Who are you then? Right? Because nobody cares about you anymore after you're out of the league. If you weren't like one of the big names that gets recognized everywhere, he
only had a few starts too, right? It's not like he was like a starter regarding like Phillip Adams, like he wasn't the guy where everybody was excited to see him on the Pats or anything, like I'm sure he had his family and a few fans from growing up, but like, so he's already there. I'm sure he's going into the NFL thinking, I'm going to be the best, because that's what they all have to try to get to that top dog position. So that definitely affects their identity too. Like learning that, wow, I'm really expendable,
Right. Plus, I mean, Travis Rudolph had the Florida man thing going for him. So there's that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That is the thing. All right. So rolling on from there, we got to keep rolling into sticking with the theme of crazy and troubled NFL players. Not crazy, but troubled. We gotta, we haven't really talked about this topic a little bit, and I think it's probably time to a little bit, is Deshaun Watson, just because huge breaks in the case this week, relevant news, right? It's crazy ramifications for the league. So the latest on the Deshaun Watson train, Nike has suspended him. He's been dropped by others. Beats by Dre said we're out. So
that's huge.
That's I mean, you can't, man, that's bad. So when Beats is out, you're in trouble. The names of his accusers have to be revealed in a landmark ruling in the Texas court, which would potentially help his case a little bit. Whether you agree with that or not, right? Like, I mean, that's one of those things where they said, hey, if you're going to sue Deshaun and pursue these claims against him, you can't do it anonymously. I don't know if I weigh in that too much, but that's how it is in Texas. NFL's probably going to put him on the exempt list for a year. And then the big thing is now his attorney has come out and admitted that there were encounters and that they were consensual. And when Deshaun found out that the women did not feel that it was consensual, he allegedly started crying, which, I mean, yeah. So Jeff, I mean, the revelation now that there were encounters, I mean, is that, and I don't want to, I mean, certainly like Deshaun is not the victim here. But he's screwed, right? I mean, like there's no way out of this now.
I think his reputation is a bit screwed. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
I feel like this could go either one of two ways. Either like this just continues to spiral into a giant mess, and we never see Deshaun Watson again.
A giant mess.
I don't know. I think the more likely thing is this is kind of a weird year, and then he's going to be on another team next year, and we slowly forget that this was even a thing, a la Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, etc. Like, he's too good of a football player to not, like, I don't know. It would be an absolutely huge loss from a talent perspective to the league. I mean, the guy is amazing. I don't know. This is going to be a weird year, but I don't think that it's going to be the end of. I think 2020. Gosh, what is it? 2022 will be a much more return to normal for Mr. Watson.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? Is the unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, whatever side you're on, like the burden of criminal things at play, right? Criminal activity it's almost not not going to happen for him, right? I think at this point we can all agree that this wasn't clean, right? Like obviously there was some not great things at play here, right? Mm-hmm. He probably used his celebrity status to, put these women in a position, and it actually probably did happen. And the reality of the NFL is, you're right. Like, Antonio Gates, of all people, ever remember Antonio Gates? He's a thing, right? He was yeah. So I think he's still probably playing. I don't know. He's been in the league for like 47 years. He's his corpse came out there and tried to catch a few passes for like a couple seasons too long. But he came out and he basically said exactly what you said, right? That, the reality of the situation is Deshaun is too good. He'll probably have to settle a lot of these claims. And it's probably going to hurt him in the pockets really bad.
Oh yeah.
As it should, right? I mean, not only in endorsements, but these women having to undergo that traumatic incident deserve it, frankly. So that's going to hurt for a while.
How long is his contract right now?
I don't know how many years are remaining on it.
Because I gotta imagine whatever team he lands on, and whatever, like when he's going to sign his next contract, that's also going to hurt too. Because like you have, you're not the unblemished NFL superstar anymore. You come with some baggage, and I don't think he'll be able to sign as big of a second deal, or I guess at this point a third deal. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there's only but so much leverage you have.
Right. So, but see, here's the thing. So. Obviously, for the Texans, they're gonna have to figure it out, which they were gonna have to do anyway. So, yet another blunder by the Texans. I mean, obviously, you couldn't see this coming, but they should have moved him before. Then they were stubborn. Now he's not gonna play, whether it's his fault or anybody's fault. He's just not gonna play. And there's a report the Eagles are still interested. And if they can get the right price for bringing on Deshaun Watson. So, his market has shrunk, with the Panthers, pulling out, for lack of a better phrase, of that with Sam Darnold. And, when you look at it, you got Kareem Hunt, just like you mentioned, right? And Blake's got his Browns, is that a Landry?
Yep, Jarvis Landry.
We got his the Browns, Kareem Hunt, not as... whether you want to say it's there's no point in comparing as bad when it comes to these sort of things. But like Kareem Hunt was bad. Antonio Brown was bad. The league has a proven history of sort of prioritizing money and selling out games over like being 100% more morally clean.
To be fair, Kareem Hunt didn't allegedly sexually abuse this woman. He did push her to the ground and kick her while she was down, right? Which is not good.
Which is not...
But it's not like if he also sexually assaulted her, I can't see him being on the Browns or like in the NFL anymore, right? Like if that was a part of it. But I guess at the same time, like, we don't know. And before we go too far too, not to like fan any flames on any conspiracy theories, but there were a lot of people that also were quick to point out that Deshaun, he expressed interest in leaving, and then of course, as he says he wants to leave, all of a sudden, it also wasn't 22 cases at this point. Like it was like 1 or 2 sprinkling in, but we started learning of these sexual assault allegations, and it was like, okay, hold on. And then again, not to fan the flames on the conspiracy, but when these women decided to sign as Jane Doe, now you have more talk like, see. It's the Texans trying to keep him there, which bold move by the Texans if they were to try to keep Deshaun Watson there by saying, "Oh, you can't go anywhere because you sexually assaulted these people." It's like,
dude.
We'll see how much weight that holds, but
I do think there's probably some credibility to when a couple people come forward, it empowers more people to come forward, right?
Absolutely.
Like, for sure. There are some people that are probably like, oh, what is this going to do to my life? Like, and it's not like a funny thing either. Like, it's kind of awful, and it's good that they're empowered to do that. But obviously, you have your QAnon NFLers who think that, it's all some big deal. But so, I mean, it kind of speaks to the double-edged sword of being a celebrity, though. Like, if you just kind of think about it from Deshaun's perspective, right? Like, all these football players, a lot of them anyway, other than my guy, Thomas, who is a family man. All these football players are playboys for the most part, right? Like, you're a young, we already said super aggressive, super adrenalated. That's a word, I think. Yep. Super testosteronated, young dude who's rich, right? You're going to be on boats. You're, like, what's the song Boats, and, so you're going to have girlfriends. You're going to go out, you're going to party, you're going to do the Dwayne Haskins with the $100 bills and strippers. So,
and when you're the QB, you are the guy. You are that
right.
untouchable status of, I lead this team. I can get what I want when I want.
So, but it's, and I'm not saying this to say that Deshaun is removed from accountability or responsibility in any way, but you can kind of see how someone who, is in a situation and they are trying to, make a move or do whatever, right? And they think that it's consensual, but really, it's the woman being allured to, like, your power, maybe, and she's intimidated. There's like a lot of reasons there that, like, just if Deshaun was a normal dude going to get a massage, like, that stuff wouldn't have happened. Right. So that's kind of, that's the double-edged sword. And we talked in a couple episodes about, I think it was an off-topic episode about you live and you die by, like, the public, right, and your reputation. That's kind of what you get. So I don't know, but I think Jeff. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're 100% right. I mean, the celebrity thing definitely is a double-edged sword of, you have that extra layer of responsibility that you should think about because you are in a unequal position as, a star NFL quarterback. I mean, we saw the same thing like with the Louis C.K. stuff a couple of years ago or however long ago that was. Like, you're just not it's not an equal setting. Like, you are in an area where you're going to put people where they feel obligated to do something because of your, I don't know, your star power influence or whatever. But yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. I do think, I mean, it's not unprecedented. Like, Roethlisberger had his thing back early in his career, and he's still in the NFL for however long, 100 years or so. It wasn't 20 people coming forward. I think it was just a couple or one, but we'll see Watson play again, I think.
I mean,
if I may, just because you said Louis C.K., at least he asked to do whatever in front of these women. Deshaun allegedly, like, rolled over and was, like, pushing himself out. So, definitely a different, less consensual situation. Louis was just very creepy, and it still wasn't good. Like, nobody really liked it, But yeah.
So,
no, I mean, that's a good point out.
We can all agree, though, that, like, the league has not seen I mean, Joe Mixon cracked a woman's eye socket in college.
Oh my God!
And, like, he's in the league. Like, he's fine. Like, they suspend. I mean, he was remorseful or whatever, and they suspended him for a year, I think. And then he just went on and had a normal career. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to shape.
With Ray Rice, sorry to cut you off there. Like, because Ray Rice, we had that video of him nailing that chick, and her head, like, bounces off the elevator, like, railing. That's probably one of the most horrific, like, videos I have seen. And then you have, again, like you said, to your point, Joe Mixon, like, we catch him on video. Like, what changed in that scenario versus the rest of these? Like how, well, I think how is the NFL able to, like...
I think the bigger question is at what point does the NFL go to a zero tolerance policy?
Right.
And will they? Because
too much
like
money.
That's what I'm saying is
I don't think they will.
They should, but I mean, with cases like this where again there's no like criminal charges that can probably happen. It's kind of like, well, do do you just ban him for life from the league because of, it's probable allegations, right? So probably not, but who knows? Who knows even if that would be well received by the general public? You know what I mean? Like, there's crazy people out there, right? There might be people like, well, let's just go for a year ban, right? Like, we really don't want to see Deshaun Watson, like, out of the league. So, that's the reality of people.
Yeah.
So, anyway, flipping boards, staying on the quarterback train, but actually talking about the NFL now. Let's kind of go into this.
Yes.
QBs are about to go off the board in a rapid fire fashion. I think we can all agree on that. So we had the Darnold trade. So now what the landscape is looking like is Trevor Lawrence number 1, Zach Wilson number 2. For everybody unanimously kind of agreeing, Mac Jones is going to go number 3 to the 49ers, and then very very possibly the Falcons are going to trade out of the number 4 spot. And whoever's in that spot are going to take Lance or Fields. So, Jeff, are we seeing – 4 quarterback – like, is this draft talent loaded enough to warrant quarterbacks going 1 through 4?
I don't know. It is unlikely that they all work out. We'll just say that. Unless they are, akin to like what it was at 2004 when we had Eli Manning and Rivers and Roethlisberger. Like that was kind of a fluke deal, and that they weren't even like the top 4 picks. They were high up there, 1, 2, and I don't know, 10 or 11 or something like that. But I don't know. It's likely that some of a couple of these are going to work out. But I don't know. Quarterback seems like such a freaking coin flip, man. Like we spend all this time looking at them, and you just don't know what you got until they actually see the field in an NFL game. Like it's just a different speed, and some players adapt fine. Some players adapt better than you expect them to, and some of them are out of the league in 2 years. So I don't know.
Well, I saw a lot of analysts saying that a couple of years ago, Dak Prescott was a nice mid-round find, and there were a lot of people saying like, if you're a franchise, you should be taking a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round every year, and maybe 2, just take them, right? And like that kind of sucks for the quarterback, but like, hey, because of what you just said, you will find talent. My guy, your guy. What? I just slipping my top of my. Where did Mahomes go again? He was in the mid 1st round, right?
Like 11, I think, or something.
Yeah, pretty high. Yeah, he's in like the top 3rd, but he wasn't. There were people that went ahead of him for sure.
There were,
right?
Yeah, he was like the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken that draft. So yeah, you don't need to have the number 1 overall pick to get your career or your franchise quarterback at all.
Yeah. No, and I think if the NFL's history has proven anything, that's not smart, right? So Blake, you what do you think about so let's take Lawrence and Wilson off the board for a second, and let's focus on this 49ers thing. The 49ers gave up essentially 3 first-round picks and a 3rd. And one of the first-round picks is debatable because they just moved back with that pick. So let's say two first-rounders and a 3rd for Mac Wilson. And so, what do you make of that? What do you make of franchises doing that kind of stuff? Do you think it's a smart move?
It's silly. Like even when you compare it to, let's look at the 2018 draft, right? Like Baker Mayfield was number 1 overall pick. Like, and he's been a good quarterback, but he's not like Mahomes. He's not up there. You could say that, oh, well, he's still young. There's still time. But like you're putting so much faith in the fact that this guy is going to be our guy. And especially with the 49ers, like it seems they didn't even really need to throw the ball, to get as far as they did. Like Jimmy Garoppolo, he's fine. I think he does exactly what they needed to do, Granted, this year he kind of had issues, but the 49ers have always been a very running up the middle team, Like if you look at their whole running back squad, like each one of them is a stud. Now they're glass cannons, to be fair. Like every single time they've hit the field, they've seemed to have some kind of like ankle injury or knee injury or whatever.
And then Jeff Wilson comes in to ninja or to vulture 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
from nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And see, he's our guy. Like I think it's just, I agree that I think there's so much faith put into this position that it could be fruitful. You could have another Mahomes, like Justin Herbert, for example. Like I hope that he's able to stay as good as he was last season, but he could absolutely crap the bed, and then the Chargers are still, at a loss and have to figure their stuff out again. So it's just
why do you hope that Justin Herbert stays good?
I mean, one, it'd be cool to see somebody else compete with Mahomes, and two, of course, I have a signed Justin Herbert card that seems to be on the rise. So, which I don't know if you guys know, but the sexual allegations against Deshaun Watson have now hurt his price. So if he can fight that, though, you could have a good bargain deal on Deshaun Watson cards.
Did you just promote buying Deshaun Watson autographed memorabilia off the heels?
I'm just saying it's a bargain hunt right now, man.
Oh my god!
You can get.
You called him a depressed stock?
Very, yeah. Stock on him is going down as it seems.
Like I say that, but like look at this. You know how much this Antonio Brown was?
Probably $50. Probably $50.
I got this signed Antonio Brown jersey for less than if you just bought that jersey.
That is amazing.
And worse on that, he farted on a doctor. That probably appreciated his value a little bit. Like people were like,
have you seen that video, Jeff? I mean, Antonio Brown.
No, I haven't.
Oh my god!
You gotta watch it
too.
He's sitting there and like
multiple times.
He's sitting
there. I'm sorry,
Brian.
and
this doctor is like examining him, and Antonio Brown's like, and he's like, my bad.
Yeah, on the first one. And then he films it it's another like 2 minutes of him just doing that and laughing, and the doctor's like, sir, I'm your dentist, basically. Like,
was it a dentist? I forget. It was.
No,
right?
I'm 100% not sure, but he was in the wrong place, it seemed.
Yeah, but so circling back to what we were actually talking about, that's the thing is the 49ers are a run first team. We can all, Jeff, like Garoppolo's not the answer, right? Like he's bad. Can we just agree?
But he's handsome.
He's not the answer. Like he's serviceable.
He's Dalton-esque.
Nah, not quite. I don't know. Maybe honestly, that's not a terrible comparison. He's not the long-term answer. I mean, credit where it's due. I mean, he was the quarterback on a Super Bowl team, which I guess, Joe Flacco. You don't have to be a great quarterback to be on a Super Bowl team, but to go back though, to kind of offer a different perspective is like as a team like that I cheer for, the Chiefs, I went, my entire life with just a bunch of garbage quarterbacks. I
can't even name them.
I
can't name them. Who are they?
Trent Green, Elvis Gerbach.
Oh yeah, Elvis. I remember Elvis.
Yeah, Rich Gannon for a little bit. But yeah, all kind
memories.
A trail of tears. Alex Smith.
To your point, you did go a long time.
Yeah. But so what I can say is it is a dumb move unless it works out, and then it's freaking brilliant. Like if it happens to be the right thing, then you got if you get a franchise quarterback out of the draft for just a couple first round picks or so, that's worth it all day. But
sure,
you're 100% right. Like I do think that it's not a terrible strategy to take a couple random picks later on in the draft and see if you can find yourself a Dak Prescott or a Thomas Brady later in the draft, because you just don't know. And just because they did fantastic in college certainly doesn't mean that they're going to do great now. But I don't know. We'll see. Like
so that game where it's like you think about like how much money would it take you to do X horrible thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like for Patrick Mahomes, right? Like obviously he's not for sale, but how many picks How many first round picks would it take to acquire Mahomes from the Chiefs?
Oh my God.
Because there is a number, I think.
There is a number.
Is it 10?
It is a ridiculous amount.
I literally don't think they would do it for 10. I do not think they would. That's just
it's
15?
probably like it's probably
20. Let's go crazy. 25 first round picks. Would you take
25 first round picks and 2 all drafts? Like Chiefs get every position.
I was gonna say they would have to be
years.
like because you know what, like if it's all the way to like 2035 of first round picks, like no, that's not gonna do anything. If you could do, and I'm sorry, all of my Chiefs, if you could do 25 first round picks in this draft, I think it would probably be worth it. But,
yeah, no, like, I mean, it's a fun thing to think about, but
astronomical.
But that's the thing is you never know, right? And you're right. Like you could take Mac Jones. Dude could be a stud. I'm not high on him at all, but like he could be a stud. Comes out and then you look like the smartest guy, or team or whatever squad ever, right? But he's gonna sit behind Garoppolo. They've already said for a year, or until Garoppolo gets hurt. So maybe a few quarters into next season. Because that's I mean to the 49ers credit, they've had to start CJ Beathard and who's that other cat who's really bad? Nick Mullins. Is that it? Nick Mullins. They've had to roll with that. I mean, sure, you want something better than that, right?
Yeah.
But like, how many quarterbacks are out there they could have just traded for that, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of like talent that's sitting on. I mean, the Packers with Love, first round pick, right? She's probably available for some amount of dollars, But to your point, maybe that's a scratched off lottery ticket, right? Like, you've already kind of seen what that is, so
Yep.
maybe you want a fresh lottery ticket and. For a lot of these coaches too in these franchises, it could, a lot of them feel like they're in win now mode, and that could drive some of this. Some of these coaches that their hot seat, their coaching seat is a little warm, or they're starting to feel warm. And I'm not saying that's Shanahan at all, but Shanahan has been burned in Super Bowls. Dude wants to win one, right? So to him, winning one in 5 years, he wants to win one now. Right. And maybe that's what you do to get this. So I guess, the question here is like, why do these teams just continue to chase Mahomes 2.0 in the first couple picks of the draft? Do you think it's a smarter strategy to do like late round QB picks, like more of them, or to do this like top of the draft QB selecting?
I mean, I'm biased.
Personally, I think it's yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm biased because we got a franchise quarterback at the 10th pick or whatever, and so we didn't have.
Still out.
Yeah. We'll see if he actually pans out to anything. He did get me.
Let's
this
see
shirt.
if he makes it to 45.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well,
let's see if he makes it to 45.
Hey, if he retires tomorrow, I'll still tell him thank you. And But anyways,
fair enough.
So I think you're right though. I think mortgaging your future to try to snag, to move up into the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 slot. Like I said earlier, like it might work out and you'll seem like a genius because you'll never get it for that cheap ever again. Like that player, but at the same time, that is a lot to hedge. Like trying to win now or whatever that looks like. So I personally would say, if you can get a mid to late round, first round quarterback, especially if you have somebody drop farther than they should, a la Aaron Rodgers or what, because how long did Aaron Rodgers stay on the board for? You remember?
He was close to the bottom, I think. Like he was, I just saw a video on this and I can't remember, but
if only there was some way we could just Google this and find the answer.
If only there existed an internet machine that knew everything that mankind can probably know. But so I mean, it's kind of like when you see teams make those top of the draft selections, right? Like, it depends on the team's strategy, but look at what Chase Young, right? Like they needed a quarterback. They took Chase Young. Now they got Fitz. And the football team is ready to move, man. The football team is in a good spot. Like that defense is just a freaking monster. And so you think about those kind of things. You think about the Giants, taking Saquon Barkley, who very good, but, and this is probably an opinion Brian would share because Brian hates running backs for some reason. A waste of that pick potentially, right? I mean, he's great. Like, he is amazing, but what did that move the needle for their franchise? They got Daniel Jones, who is like, tackles himself on breakaway runs. So, who knows
Giant
what
Manning.
this, who knows what this, but and then you got Peyton Manning, right? You got these quarterbacks that go high and Andrew Luck, they are as advertised. So I think my personal opinion, and I've said it a couple times, is if you're going to do that top of the draft thing, like, I don't hate the Jaguars taking Trevor Lawrence for the number 1 overall pick. They happen to be in the spot, right? That's why tanking is a good strategy. I'm sorry. Like, I know NFL people hate it, and fans hate it. But, like, if I'm a franchise and, I'm winning nothing all year and I start to get kind of hot at the end, like, no, stop it. You know what I mean? Like, you're much better on for your future to do something like this and be able to get your guy without having to mortgage the bank, right?
Yep.
So, rolling into that, the Jaguars for next year, the news is, the NFL is backing off on a London team. So, there's been a lot of talks for a long time about the NFL moving overseas. We played a lot of games in Mexico, right? We played a lot of games over there. Even on this podcast, we've had people from, overseas, our friends in the over that way in the UK. It's a hot market, but one of the reasons there's news that the NFL is backing off on the London team is you need a few things to move over there, right? You need a fan base that'll offer you good support, sell out games. You got to have a good stadium. You got to have the local support, and you got to be willing to move. The Jaguars, believe it or not, like, are generating so much like local interest now with Urban Meyer, with the prospect of Trevor Lawrence. I'm sure there's other people that play in Jacksonville that are also good. Well, I got rid of a couple of them, most of them. But they're not willing to move anymore. So, like, the NFL's looking around and like, all right, who's going to go? And, like, nobody wants to go. So, like, that's a thing. I mean, what do you think about the future of, like, NFL globalization, Jeff?
I think it would be fantastic if we could figure out how to make that happen, because I feel like that is a completely untapped market. We Americans are very American-centric in the way we think. There are, turns out, a lot of other people in the world, and it is a thing that is growing in popularity overseas, and I would love it. And I don't know if that happens through relocation or if we see another expansion. I mean, we're already going to ruin our typical season length, so why not ruin our typical number of teams in the league? I could definitely see that sort of thing happen. Obviously, the global economy has been a little bit turned upside down here the past year, so it's a little bit of a weird time to try to do that. But once things post-pandemic kind of settle down, I could definitely see that on the table as something that we see happen is a potential expansion of some sort.
I think, how fun would it be if they just said, all right, 4 new teams. We got the Mexico squad. we got the England squad. We got the Ireland or Scotland squad. Those are the same thing in my brain. And then we have the Canadian squad, right? Like, because they're already, think about this, right? The XFL, right? Dwayne Johnson, who is probably the most powerful man in the world now, probably going to be the next president.
Physically and literally.
Physically, literally, and spiritually, right? He's got his, like, mana and stuff. The most powerful man in the world, bought, with other people, bought the XFL. XFL is now looking at merging with the CFL, right? I think.
Yeah. Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
news of that, yeah.
That, if anything's going to work out, it'll work out if Dwayne Johnson's behind it, right? Like, people will just care about that more. And he'll insert himself, right? Like, he did it with that NBC show, not Remember the Titans. That was a movie. What was it? Something Titans. But it was the one. It was kind of like American Gladiators.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're
where
talking about.
Yeah, they get like the stupidly fit like doctor to go up there and like compete with all these other people. But anyway, he hosted that himself, right? And so he will insert himself into things to make them like successful. So I have no doubt that the XFL, whenever that comes back, is going to be a success.
It was called the Titans Games.
The Titan Games. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, think about this, right? So if we do finally have a minor league of football, if you will, which we need, right? We've false started a few times, and the XFL failing, that could be a whole topic, dude. I'm so, like, how do you guys feel about Let's just do it. Let's do it. Brian's not here. Screw the show notes. I want to talk about this. How do you guys feel about the XFL?
Oh my gosh, man. I was so...
Not the first one. Not He Hate Me. I'm talking about the one that was like just happened.
I was so bummed because I was actually able to go to a DC Defenders Go Durs game, and we were pioneers, man. The Durs, the DC Durs. You know, like we were able, like we were a part of something that, one, was $20 a ticket, two, like it was still football with like these great rules. I know you guys mentioned this on one of the last episodes when you were talking about taking out the onside kicks, I believe. But they had a rule where, you know, if you lined up within a certain distance of the end zone, then you either got 1, 2, or 3 points. Like that was, I'd never thought of that before, and that was such a cool rule, you know? Like the overall experience was just so fun. And it was being able to hear, like, for example, when you were watching it live, being able to hear the coaches like break down plays and say, this is what we're going to go with. Like that was, personally, I enjoyed that, you know, and I could see a lot of promise in that. And then unfortunately it just happened to, you know, coincide with this pandemic that is, you know, now a year and a half later, you know, the season has fully gone under, or the XFL, not fully gone under, you know, Dwayne did buy it up, so hopefully there's promise for it to come back, but like it was so disappointing seeing that they couldn't just get off the ground, even though there was such promise in the start of the season last year.
Have you guys seen the DC Defender beer snake?
Yes.
Jeff,
I have not.
Have you seen it? Have you
It's
not
incredible.
seen it? So like this is to Blake's point. I mean, one of the like most amazing, fun things about the XFL was just how like fun the overall experience was, right? And so Jeff, Google DC Defender beer snake. And, like,
Probably
it's
the
not,
most legendary thing in the most recent XFL season.
It's so for everybody out there who doesn't know, it's like when you go get a beer
my.
at a football game, you get
Yes.
you get these little plastic cups that your beer's in. So these fans just stack these plastic cups, and that thing goes from like the field to like the upper deck.
Yeah.
It is the most amazing beer snake
That is
you have
amazing.
ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
We had, you
Right.
know, again, pioneers, man. We had to come up with these cool things to be known, you know? Like first game we tried shields on the field, where literally anytime, because when you came into the game, they had these little like foam shields, and so literally anytime we scored or anytime we just felt like it, everybody just started yelling, "Shields on the field!" And we would just frisbee these foam shields into the end zone. Of course, you know, they stopped giving out shields like 2 or 3 games in, but you know, like it was just something fun, you know. It was so cool.
So Jeff, did you ever watch the XFL?
I did. I've been to a game back, the old XFL. I don't remember where it was.
No, that doesn't count.
Oh,
That doesn't
beer
count.
snakes back then.
That's like
man.
when
There were no beer
Like, that's
snakes
back
then.
in the day where they put a football in the middle of the field and then you just
Yes.
like steam locomotive into each other to like
Basically the
to
exact
get the
opposite
ball.
of our entire CTE conversation earlier.
Yeah. Jeff,
yeah.
do you have Spotify? No, I had a Walkman back in the day though.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It would have
Yeah.
been successful, right? And the point there is that dude, I mean, see, this was the thing, right? I didn't feel like I had, like, I used to be a Dolphins fan way back in the day. I'll admit never to Brian, but I was. And then I moved away, like things happened in my life, whatever. I realized that Tom Brady is football Jesus. And so that was the thing. But like when the XFL came, I'm like, yes, the Vipers, Tampa Bay Vipers. Like that is my club, right? Like I'm in on the ground floor. Like they sucked. They were really bad.
Yeah, they did.
But like that was my team, bro. I have a Tampa Bay Vipers hoodie, right? Like I felt like I belonged, and like it crushed me, dude. Like I was like season Viper tickets was like $140, and that was like in the box. Like it was like, you know what I mean? So I feel like
steal.
the NFL, and this will lead into our next episode too. So this is a pretty good segue if you want to call it that. But the NFL has to figure out a way to be fun, right? They for a couple of years there made it super unfun when they banned celebrations. You remember that?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. Like
And they
this is some of the funnest things in the like I don't know, man. Like just all the ridiculousness. We'll get into a couple people in our other episode who definitely have some famous celebrations, but I love that sort of thing. And I do agree with you, Will. I think we need to find ways to encourage it to be, a little, there's definitely the super in-depth, the science of the game and all the data that goes into, all these teams making, and like all the scout, like all the serious stuff. But like on the fan side, on Sunday morning when we're watching a game, like, I don't know, like I want to watch them do stupid touchdown celebrations and whatever else. Like it's fun. Makes it more enjoyable to watch.
So in hockey, right? In hockey, like, I mean, football's not hockey, but in hockey, they get two dudes get mad at each other, and then the NFL referee turns into Big John McCarthy or Herb Dean, right? He's like, go, like he's like UFC fight. You know what I mean? Like he referees a fight. That's so weird to me. Like you're just gonna let them do that? Like, I mean, maybe try to stop it. I don't know. They don't, because they know that that's like a part of the experience, right?
Yeah.
You get mad, you take your helmet off, you slap some dude with a glove, or
the only way to stop it is with their fist across the other dude's helmet.
I think there are rules to it, right? I mean, I'm not a big hockey fan, but you can't just take somebody and like murder them with your hockey stick, right? Like, crack it in half off your knee.
It's
like,
literally shoulder. It's just wild too, because again, it's barehanded. These guys, they go gloves off, they throw their glove off, and then it's just two grown men slugging each other's helmets. They're punching each other's helmets until the helmet flies off, and then effectively the guy with no helmet loses, or the guy that falls. It's wild stuff, man.
It is wild.
And I don't think we should
bar fight.
It is,
yeah.
and I don't think we should be there. Like we don't want to.
And they're both hyped to be a part of it. They both sometimes they'll get up and they'll be like, "All right, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Yeah."
we did it
on Tuesday. Cool. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like you don't want Mason Rudolph versus Myles Garrett every football game, right? Like that's not good. So you don't want that. And I mean that was a little dangerous because Myles like swung the helmet like a weapon, right? So there's got to be some rules. And in hockey, I don't think you break the stick over your knee and then you go like full Spartan with the other dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's not murder. So, but back to the point about making the NFL fun, and this is coming full circle into our topic. We're gonna bring it back. Like a football game in Mexico. I haven't been there. I imagine that's a pretty damn good time, right? And having those, and the same thing in the UK, dude. I lived overseas. I was in the Navy. And watching the World Cup from a place in the world that cares about soccer is unreal, dude. Yeah. Unreal. And like you look at how like Lionel Messi and all these dudes make all this money. I mean, because that is really popular, right? And if the NFL was smart, they have a very core market, and there's a little bit of nationalism, I think, too, in the NFL, right? Like, yeah. I'd imagine there's a lot of people in Texas that don't want to see like. Our like globalization.
Oh boy.
Right. That's a thing. And the NFL is dominated by Cowboys fans. So, you don't want to
our teams.
How bad would it be if like you see like the German squad roll over here and win the Super Bowl, right? Like,
oh my God.
What would people in Texas do? They just
that
would
initiate World War III.
That sounds good to start.
I think we're gonna be there, right? I mean, like, it could be the WFL, right? The World Football League.
I thought
look at all the money that's over there.
Women's Football League.
No, that's no. I don't think we could have that. That would be nice, but I don't think. I think before we'll have that, we'll see kickers, like female kickers, and maybe even skill position players. Who knows? I mean, if they really, I mean, circling back to another topic, if they really want to fix CTE and they make it such that it's even less physical, where women wouldn't be put at risk, right? Because you don't want Chase Young to go full steam into
Jesus,
a female. Like, I wouldn't want him to go full steam into me. I would die, right? I'm a big dude, so you want to protect women. But I think you would see that before you see a league. But even before you see that, I think that
So agreed.
It would be really fun.
It should be flag football now. We should have flags.
No. So you definitely don't want that either, But I think so. And anyway, so the only candidate that is actually a viable candidate to move, believe it or not, is the Chargers. The owner's I think sister really wants him to sell the team, trying to force a sale. The Chargers have no fan base because they have this, they've been sort of uprooted. They're sharing all this stuff. That would be the big candidate for moving if they were going to move. But I don't think moving is the answer. I think it would be an expansion league.
Not sucking.
So
being a better team.
I would love it, man. Like all these teams, all these markets. I mean, there are a lot of cities in the country that could use, I think, NFL teams. But we want, the other part to that though is talent. Whatchamacallit? What's the thing when there's like more stuff but less available? Dilution.
Talent dilution. Yeah.
Like if we added do you think we would see that appreciably, or do you think you would just see more like XFL players in the NFL?
Four teams would be a lot. That would certainly change things to some extent. I think if it was just a 2-team expansion, which I don't know how that would exactly work with how everything is set up now, but I think that would be much less noticed. But I do think it would be appreciably felt if we were to add 4 teams overnight. I think that's a good point.
How do you think? How did it work? I don't remember this. How did it work when the Jags and Panthers came into the league? There weren't 4 teams per conference, obviously, right?
Did we? Honestly, I don't know. Again, that might have to be just something that we type into the Googler after the show.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I don't know how you would do. I think that 2 teams probably makes more sense. 1 in the UK, right, and then maybe 2 in the UK, just to start with regionally, so you don't have to deal with the Mexican government, which I hear that can be a challenge. So there's that. But anyway, so having 2 teams over in the UK, I think could be great. Who knows, man? Who knows? But the future of football looks fun, looks bright. Except if you're a Texan, then the future looks very, very bleak.
I feel so bad for Texans fans.
I mean, hey,
it's terrible.
Anyway, so that's what we're going to do on our main episode. We're going to go into some more fun stick around for the next episode, the flavor of the week, palate cleanser. Appreciate Blake, you being on here. You're going to stick around with us. So thanks, please subscribe, tell your friends. Somehow we still have 5-star reviews. We're not after this show with me hosting it though. I can promise you that. And got our Twitter, official PP Pod, YouTube, IG, Facebook, TikTok. Brian does not skimp on the social media. So there's that. We've got a Discord community where you can come in there and flame me for being a Tom Brady fan and talk about all your bad draft takes. So it's a good time. So stick around for the flavor of the week on PPP.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Pigskin Party Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. We'll catch you in the next Pigskin Party.